Ciao, I will be cooking beans today. I'll be doing a slightly different beans pasta. I've done beans pasta on the channel before, but this is different. And I've got borlotti beans, 300 grams, which I've soaked overnight, well, 24 hours. And I've also added a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda to soften them up. And I'll start by cooking the beans. This is a nice large bay leaf. As mentioned, I soaked the beans for 24 hours, but also I changed the water a couple of times in between. And I'm going to add enough water to just cover them and leave 1 centimeter above the top of the beans. Make sure that if you do cook beans, you add cold water. Never cook with boiling hot water. And I'll turn the power on maximum until they start boiling. When I was a little boy and my mum used to make this dish for us, we used to have it with kotica. Kotica di maiale is the skin of the pig that she used to buy specifically from the butcher. It's the same stuff that you get if you're making crackling from the skin of a pig on a Sunday during a Sunday roast. This is the skin of the pig, but it's from my joint of Parma ham, which I've nearly finished, but I kept it specifically because I wanted to use in this dish. And I'm just really brushing off the very top layer to make sure that it's clean. And as it is, I will add it to the beans and I'll leave it to cook alongside them. In the meantime, I will get on with some of the other ingredients. So I'm chopping a couple of onions. These are red, very finely. Some olive oil in a pan. I'm now crushing in a couple of large cloves of garlic using a garlic crusher, but you can also use a knife if you like, and as long as they are nice and fine. And in goes the onion as well. Everything goes on the hob, and I'll leave the onion and the garlic to sizzle for a good couple of minutes now until the onion has softened up. These are pork ribs. I will be using pork for this recipe. You can use any cut of pork if you like, or you do not have to use any meat. If you opt for a vegetarian option, that's fine. You just remove any meat or any skin from the pig as well. And I've chopped them in approximately a couple of centimeters cubes. And they can go in with the onion and the garlic as well. I'm now adding some rosemary because I love the taste of rosemary with pork. I think they go incredibly well together. Also a couple of leaves of sage and a little thyme as well. Followed by a little salt, not a lot, and some pepper as well. Wonderful, the smell is great already. The ribs are lovely and brown already, and I'm now adding a quarter of a glass of dry white wine. Couple of fresh tomatoes on the vine. They're nice and sweet, but you can use any tomatoes you like. You can use cherry tomatoes or plum tomatoes, and I'm chopping them into tiny little pieces. I pick them up, and as soon as the alcohol from the wine evaporates, I will be adding them as well. My beans are boiling away, and I'm now going to pinch a couple of ladles of beans water, and I will be adding them to my pork. And as soon as everything reaches the boil, I'll put the lid on and I'll turn the temperature down and I'll leave it to cook gently for another 30 minutes, which will coincide with the beans being ready. This is kale, which also comes from our garden, and Julie picked it this morning. I'm chopping it into little pieces and I'll put it on top of my meat. And do not worry that there seems to be a lot there, it will shrink considerably. Peeling a nice large carrot next. I'll chop it into 3 pieces so that I've got some nice chunky pieces. Beans are halfway there, and I will be adding it to my beans. Reason why I didn't add the carrot at the beginning with the beans is because the carrot will cook in a considerably less amount of time than the beans. So the cooking time remaining is about 20 to 25 minutes, which will be perfect so that they will finish cooking together. And my beans are done, and I will start by removing and disposing of the bay leaf first, and also the skin from my Parma ham. You can eat this if you like, but I'm not going to. It has done its job really. I just wanted the flavor to be released with the beans. Next I'll go and find the carrots, and I will add them to a bowl. And I'm gonna be pinching also a couple of ladles of beans and a little bit of water. And I'll drain the remainder of the beans, but I'm gonna be keeping the water as I might need it later. This is a spring onion, which is also fresh from our garden, and Julie has picked it for me. A quick wash, and I'm going to be removing the skin from the outside, and I'll chop it into 4 pieces and add it to my beans. And using a hand blender, I'll mix everything until I get a lovely smooth paste. There, that is very good. I'll show you, and make sure that it is nice and smooth, and if it's a little bit too dense, just add a little bit more of your beans water, but I'm very happy that this is okay. And I'll be cooking shells, or conchiglie, which is the Italian for shells. This is a typical pasta used in Italy for this type of recipes with beans, and it goes very nicely because the beans will get trapped inside and they're delicious. I did say that I had an alternative use for the water from the beans, and I'm actually going to be using it to cook the pasta, supplemented by a little bit more normal water as there isn't enough there. As soon as the water starts boiling, add some salt, just like a normal pasta, and I'll add my conchiglie. Back to my pork, which has been cooking away, and it smells absolutely wonderful. And firstly, I'll add the beans, which I've drained. Quick mix to ensure that everything is mixed together and fits in the pan. I could have actually done with using a larger one, but never mind, it's okay. And I'm now adding my blended carrot and beans together to my beans and pork. Wonderful. I will add a new bay leaf and put it in so that it's all covered. And I'll turn the temperature down onto a medium to low, and I'll leave this to cook for another 5 minutes until the pasta is ready. And my pasta is nearly ready, and like I did before with the beans, I'm going to drain it and keep some of the water because I might need it, and I'll explain why in a second. But I will put this back in the container where I cook the pasta. My beans are also ready, but I don't want to use all of them, so I'm going to treat this a bit like a ragu really, so only use what I need. I'm turning this down. It's 2 of us eating, so I will be adding enough for 2 people. This will be left, and I'll be using as a snack for lunch or without pasta.
I'm
or
literally
you can
salivating.
add
It looks
some
wonderful.
potatoes. The pasta is nearly cooked, but if you look, it's a little bit dense, and that's why I kept some of the water. So I'll be adding a little bit.
Good cupful, I think, wasn't it?
Yes. And I'll mix it until everything is cooked.
A little bit more meat.
A little bit more meat, yes?
Is that kale from my garden?
Yes, it is.
Lovely.
I'll just test the pasta quickly. 1 more minute. Which is a good sign, because that means that it's still al dente. And I'm still not very happy because it's a little bit too dense, so I'm going to add just a little bit more water. Obviously, to taste, you might prefer it a little bit denser, but I think it could be a little bit too much, so a little bit more water will not harm.
We like ours a bit sort of soupy, don't we?
Yes.
Really? And everybody, wet meals like this are more filling and they make you fuller longer.
And bearing in mind that this has dried up a little bit, I will be adding a little bit more water in here as well, and when I have my lunch tomorrow, I'll be ready. And it is ready, so I'll be serving it, including some of the liquidy part at the bottom there. Perfect.
This is such a traditional Sicilian, anyway, meal, isn't it?
It is. I mentioned at the beginning that my mum used to cook it with the skin of the pig, but I used the Parma ham skin. I'm now adding a little olive oil on the very, very top.
So when he wants to start cooking the pig's trotters for New Year, you know you're in trouble, everybody.
That is very, very Sicilian, actually very Italian. And before I add some Parmesan cheese, I'll sprinkle a little parsley on top. This is very optional, by the way, but I love it because it releases quite a lot of flavour. And the very, very last touch before we tuck in is a little cheese, Parmesan cheese. Or you can also use pecorino if you like, entirely up to you. But Parmesan is not as aggressive. Yes. Before I start with the pasta, I want to try some of the meat. So I'll go a little piece of pork here, and I'll give it a shot. It's nice and tender. It cooked for a good 45 minutes. The smaller you cut it, the more tender obviously it will be in 2 centimeters thickness. And let's try the pasta and some of the beans. Really, really good. You know what? The Parma ham skin, the skin, I can taste it, and I'm pleased I didn't put a lot of salt because it's quite salty, but it's really delicious. And you can make it more liquidy if you want, or less liquidy. Like this is perfect. I think it's, from my point of view, very creamy and delicious. See what you think. Ciao ciao, buon appetito e arrivederci.